So today's session is on engaging minds and hearts, concept-based inquiry, exhibitions, and service learning. So I have invited Ruba and Saab and Barbara Gyasi today to share their expertise. Both Ruba and Barbara I've met when I came over to visit Aris International School in Ghana many years ago now, and have worked with both of them through the Trainer Certification Institute. And I love to be able to connect with them from time to time and hear about all the incredible things happening at Al Rayyan International School. And so I invited them to share with you today some of the amazing things that they are doing and that some of the colleagues at your school are doing. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand over now and let them get started. As they are starting up, we'd just love to hear in the chat in 2 or 3 words, what are you hoping to get out of today's masterclass? As they're doing their introductions, we'd love to hear from you.
Yes. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our masterclass, Engaging Minds and Hearts, Concept-Based Inquiry in Exhibitions and Service Learning. I'm Barbara, and it's a pleasure to be here with my wonderful colleague, Ruba. We're going to dive into the connection between heart, mind, and action in open inquiries and exhibitions. So, a little bit about myself. I take on many roles, and I've been serving as a DP math facilitator and teacher learning coach at Al Rayyan International School. In July of this year, I became an Erickson and Lanning certified trainer and presenter. And in addition to these roles, I'm also part of the child protection team. I work as an MYP math facilitator and a personal project coordinator. So that's about me. Meet Ruba.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Ruba, and I'm the Teaching and Learning Coordinator at Al Rayyan International School, Accra, Ghana. So I am Barbara's colleague. I'm a proud mama of 3, Noor, Sama, and an angel son, Anthony, who lives in my heart and everything I do. I like to connect and dedicate everything I do to my kids because they truly drive my passion for education. Since 2020, I've been a concept-based trainer and presenter. The Institute was a memorable experience, just as Barbara said, an experience loaded with connections, reflections, and practical strategies for immediate implementation as a facilitator and a coach. So over the past 9 years, I've had the privilege of teaching PYP 3, so the little ones, 3, 4, and 6, and I'm currently supporting PYP facilitators and MYP language and literature facilitators, MYP 1, 2, 3, implementing the concept-based learning in their classrooms. I am a Friday lover and a big fan of graphic organizers. I like to see how students visualize their thinking and own their learning. So as we explore the connection between the heart, mind, and action today in this presentation, please feel free to ask questions. We'll make sure to keep an eye on the chat box. We're super excited to get started.
Thank you, Ruba. So here's a quick copyright reminder. Please avoid taking screenshots or recordings during the session, but feel free to take some notes. Today's discussion is going to focus on how we can engage the heart, the mind, and action as we engage students through open inquiries and service learning. So you'll often hear Ruba and I referring to these 3 elements, heart, mind, and action, because we believe that they're the driving force behind our work as educators, and they're really essential for fostering meaningful learning experiences.
So to kick off our discussion, let's reflect on the role of the heart, mind, and action in effective leadership. We're going to talk about 2 inspirational figures in here, Malala and Nelson Mandela. Malala deeply cared for girls and children denied from education. This inspired her to investigate the barriers to education in her homeland in Pakistan. She believed in the power of communication skills, particularly storytelling. So this inspired her to advocate for change through storytelling and public speaking. So this is how she used the heart, mind, and action model in her lifetime. As for Nelson Mandela, who believed in human rights, this inspired him to connect with people, to understand their struggles and the challenges they face on a daily basis. He was a strategic thinker, which inspired him after his investigations to advocate for peaceful negotiations. So this is a proof that our students can be change makers, not just by learning, but by caring and acting. to make the world a better place. So we're going to be a bit vulnerable in here and share our story. Barbara and I want to share our journey as facilitators. Like many of you, we've often struggled to truly connect what students are learning to what they care about. They'd often say things like, I'm solving problems I've never faced and answering questions I never asked. So this made us think, okay, now how can we help them construct meaning and inspire real action? Action felt just like another task on our to-do list. It required constant provocations and seemed like pushing rather than inspiring our students until we realized the connection and the strong link between the heart, mind, and action. That's what we want to explore together today. But before we dive deeper, we'd like to hear from you. How do you connect with your students? Are you the teacher, the heart type that emphasizes emotional connections and relationships? Are you the mind type of teacher that fosters critical thinking and understanding? Or you tend to lean towards the action type that encourage hands-on experiences and practical application? So kindly share your thoughts in the chat box. Heart and mind combo. I think I use all different types, which is awesome. I tend to lean more towards the mind type, so I have a lot of work to do around the heart and action. I do all of them, heart 100%, but also mind. Heart and action. A little bit of everything. Heart, I do them all three, I think. Great insights. Connecting with the students on the heart, mind, and action level is super important. Off to you, Barbara.
Thank you for sharing, everyone. It's really inspiring to see how each of you connects with your students in various ways. So let's build on these ideas of heart, mind, and action and look at our guiding questions. We're going to consider three. The first one is, why heart, mind, and action in education? 2, what is the connection between conceptual understanding, empathy, and impactful actions? And 3, what opportunities can we provide for students to connect conceptual understanding, empathy, and impactful actions during inquiry? Let's tackle our first guiding question. Why exactly do we need to focus on heart, mind, and action in education? Let's think about this question. Why exactly do we educate? What is our purpose? When we observe the world around us, we encounter numerous challenges, from cyberbullying to pollution to mental health issues, substance abuse, war, poverty, water scarcity, even gadget addiction. If we focus only on imparting knowledge and skills, can we genuinely believe that these challenges can be addressed? We want to avoid running the risk of educating individuals who are equipped intellectually but disconnected from the deeper needs of society, especially if we choose to focus solely on knowledge and skills. So in order to address these complex issues, we must foster not only critical thinking, but also empathy, compassion, and a sense of responsibility. What we need are change makers, more people like Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, and Malala. And in order to make the world a better place, we need to collaborate to make that change. So as we work towards our collective goal of educating change makers that collaborate to make the world a better place, as educators, we need to provide opportunities for them to develop qualities like thinkers, caring, reflective, and many more. So how can we make this happen? This is where engaging the heart, mind, and action becomes essential, so that we're able to empower students to apply what they learn in meaningful ways and contribute to real-world solutions. So when we think of heart, mind, and action, then service learning and concept-based learning comes in. So we're going to unfold and unpack service learning and concept-based learning and connect them to heart, mind, and action in the upcoming presentation. Ruba?
Yes, thank you, Barbara. So what do we mean by heart, mind, and action? And how do they connect to concept-based learning and service action? In the upcoming slides, we will define each section and share practical examples and strategies of each. Thanks to the famous green book, Concept-Based Inquiry and Action by Rachel French and Carla Marshall, and the resources we got from the Inspire Citizens during our amazing collaboration. We're going to share all in the upcoming slides. So let's get started with the heart section. Heart is all about the empathy. It's giving the students the opportunity to ask, why do I care? Why is it significant? Why does it really matter? It's actually picking issues that students really deeply care about. It's about connecting their learning to what's happening around them because we are not disconnected from the world. Here are a few strategies that can engage the heart. Storytelling is a very powerful strategy, connecting issues to personal experiences, exposing students to multiple issues to provoke critical thinking and conversations. So it's about connecting their thoughts, their ideas, and their passion to real-world issues using various strategies, such as the concept mapping and the heart strategy we see on the screen. It's also about providing them multiple opportunities to connect their issues to their hobbies and interests. So it's all about empowering students to see their potential impact on the world. It's basically the care stage. Let's shift our focus to the mind. When we say mind, it's all about thinking and investigation process. And here we're targeting the knowledge, we're targeting the skills, we're targeting the understandings needed to better understand their issues and make learning meaningful. An approach that sums it up is concept-based learning approach. Dr. Lynn Erickson and Lois Lanning describe concept-based learning as a thinking classroom that connects, that combines knowledge, skills, and understandings for deep learning. It focuses on rich learning experiences and big ideas for students to transfer their learning to real-world context. For the mind stage to be successful, skills have to come to the rescue. Yes, they will turn into researchers, thinkers, communicators, socializers, and good self-managers, and understand the how and why behind these skills. That's what we call the process-based understanding. So it's not enough to collect facts, fill in cross-comparison charts, fill in graphic organizers. We really need to understand the how and why behind the skills we're putting in action. So as mentioned earlier, Malala and Nelson Mandela used these skills effectively. They were able to negotiate, communicate, and think strategically in order to take impactful action. Let's explore a few examples of students bringing the ATL to life. In this example, students needed to research the causes and effects of child poverty. So they used the CRAAP strategy to effectively evaluate the sources they used. So here we're talking about PYP exhibition students, year 6. So after the skill application, they answered the conceptual question, what responsibilities do we have, do researchers have? So here are a few of the responses, like analyzing information, checking the sources, reading through to check the accuracy of information. So here we're looking at the interplay between the facts they're getting from their investigations and the skills they need to really conduct meaningful ones. Another example in here, before conducting an interview with our well-being department about the effects of poverty on children's social and emotional health, the PYP exhibition students unfolded the steps and skills involved in conducting a good interview, put these skills in action, reflected on the skill application, and generated their process-based understanding, targeting this particular research and communication skill. When we say the mind, it's all about spotting patterns and continuous reflections. So this is my favorite part. For students to connect the dots and spot patterns and factual examples, they need to be aware of the impact of graphic organizers and use them effectively to move from factual thinking to conceptual thinking. As you can see, the cross-comparison chart, four-corner placemats, and flow charts inspired from the concept-based inquiry and action book help students organize their findings to spot patterns among factual information as they investigated. We will talk about the connection between these organizers and the action component in the upcoming slides. Over to you, Barbara.
Thank you, Ruba. So we've spoken about what we mean by heart and mind. Let's move on to action. When we speak of action, we're connecting it to service learning. Service learning can have multiple definitions depending on who you ask. And it's mainly about why. Why am I learning this? How can I connect this to my life? What service learning is that it's applicable across all subjects and can take on 4 different forms, namely advocacy, research, direct, and indirect service. Each of these forms offers a unique way for students to engage with their communities and apply their knowledge. Advocacy involves raising awareness, promoting causes that address social issues, while research focuses on gathering data, conducting studies to help solve community problems. Direct service involves hands-on activities where students actively participate in addressing immediate needs, whilst indirect service refers to support work that benefits others without direct contact, such as organizing or coordinating efforts. What service learning is not, is that it's not a one-time event or simply volunteer work, nor is it something that is only done by students and solely focused on charity. So when we come to action, these different approaches, advocacy, research, direct service, indirect service, help students develop a deeper understanding of their academic subjects while making a tangible impact on their communities. Now, what can service learning look like? It can look like running workshops, making media, teaching, building relationships with community members, hosting events, advocating for causes, participating in events, and many more. And one organization that has been an amazing collaborator when it comes to enhancing service learning initiatives is the Inspire Citizens organization. And we thank them for collaborating with us here at ARIS.
Thank you. Let's look at other practical examples for taking meaningful action. We have here creating buddy benches, observing people during break to see whether they were grouped based on race. This is an interesting one. Creating fun games to educate the community about various topics, planting trees. These actions resulted from solid conceptual understandings that we will zoom into as we move forward in this presentation. Over to you, Barbara.
Thanks, Ruba. So now that we've unfolded what is meant by heart, mind, and action together, let's look at our second guiding question. What's the connection between conceptual understanding, empathy, and effective service learning initiatives? Here at ARIS, we've drawn inspiration from 2 amazing cycles and put it together to the cycle you see in the middle. The Empathy to Impact cycle by Inspire Citizens, as you can see on the left, and then the Concept-Based Inquiry cycle by Rachel French and Carla Marshall on the right. Now, in the cycle we use here, we begin with care. We want students to reflect on the significance of the topic they're pursuing. How does it connect to their own personal experiences? Then they are encouraged to ask questions, which are transformed into lines of inquiry that guide the investigation process. In the investigate stage, students put their skills into action, bringing graphical organizers to life and identifying patterns that lead to important concepts. Now, these concepts are then developed into their own generalizations, which is the generalized stage that you see here. And they are developed into conceptual understandings that result in impactful actions. Now, the model here looks like it's linear, following a clockwise pattern. It's actually quite flexible, and it allows students to move between the different stages as needed. You'll notice that there's reflect everywhere. And that shows that reflection is a continuous process. So students regularly evaluate their skills, their profiles, and the next steps at each stage of the cycle. We find that this model is particularly effective for the PYP6 exhibition and other forms of open inquiry. So let's explore a little case study of how the mind can inspire the heart for meaningful action to occur. For her MYP personal project, one of my students wanted to investigate how to communicate with students with autism. And her passion was to make them more confident and teach them one of her personal passions, which is crochet. So in the mind stage, she made a research plan to investigate how to communicate with children with learning difficulties, and she made a plan on how to achieve her goal. But as she completed her research, she decided to tour the school and connect with the students first before attempting to teach them anything. She said she visited up to 10 times. She had conversations with the students around their own passions like cars, makeup, quite unrelated to crochet, but she wanted to connect with them first. And this is the heart stage. So she reflected this way: engaging with children with special needs through crochet required me to embrace open-mindedness and patience. She also says, I soon realized the importance of fostering and developing a more inclusive and more accepting mindset in our world. I learned to be flexible, patient, and responsive to their needs and preferences. When you think about her reflections, do you notice she got the opportunity to develop empathy for the students first before proceeding to teach them one of her passions, which was crochet? So how do you think the heart and mind influence her final actions? Well, she says she immediately had she had a plan in mind, but she had to modify it on how she wanted to teach the skill of crocheting. She decided to speak slower and teach according to the style of the students. What this example highlights for us is that engaging the heart influences meaningful action. And so as educators, if we really want to make a difference, we need to actively support students as they implement their ideas and follow through with their plan. Give them an opportunity to engage their hearts. It's not enough to help them identify actions, provide resources, and then send them on their way. We need to stay engaged with them throughout the process, to guide them, to mentor them, so that we can ensure that the actions they're about to take are actually meaningful and impactful, rather than, leaving them to navigate the journeys on their own. So, to summarize, conceptual understanding engages the mind, empathy connects with the heart, both of which support action and enhance the effectiveness of service learning. That's our guiding question. So, number 3, the good part. How exactly do we provide opportunities for students to connect empathy, conceptual understanding, and service learning during inquiry? So this is where we come in. One area that I've discovered is during inquiry lesson design. So the model you see here in the middle is actually the concept-based inquiry cycle developed by Rachel French and Carla Marshall. And you can see that they have key phases. During the engage phase, students' curiosity and interests can be sparked by provocative questions and scenarios. And as facilitators, we can be intentional about choosing these questions and scenarios so that students begin to care about what they're about to learn and the real life implications of the topics that we are discussing with them. Also, during the investigate stage, students engage in research, experiments, hands-on activities, and we can use case studies that lead students to care about what they are learning. And so once we know our students very well, we can pick case studies and experiments and hands-on activities that will deepen their understanding. And during the generalize and the transfer phases, we can also pick real-life contexts where students can apply their conceptual understanding in a meaningful way, in a way that connects to them, so that their minds are stimulated, but also the actions that result in the transfer stage is based on their conceptual understanding. So designing inquiry lessons is one opportunity to get students to engage with their heart, their mind, which will result in impactful actions. In ARIS, our high school also uses this model, which can be helpful for service learning to track meaningful action. The model you see here, we like to call it the iPad model. And the most important part of the iPad model is the reflection. Again, you see that reflection is a big deal because it helps students to think not only about their project goals, yes, especially before action, but even after action, they need to reflect to confirm, does it match my plan? Am I doing what I intended? Let's take a look at how this model was brought to life in one example. A student observed that a local school was quite different to her school here at Aris in terms of the facilities and resources available. So she brought her observations back to class, shared them during a discussion, and then inspired by the SDG goal number 4, she, along with a group of students, rallied together to investigate how they could contribute to quality education for all. So they decided to visit the local school, where they had the opportunity to interact and get a real sense of the challenges at that school. Afterwards, they had a reflection session and then came up with a plan. They assigned roles and then began to act using a bake sale, seeking sponsorships, advocating for the project within our school community. However, upon reflection, they realized that one of the original goals was to upgrade the washroom facilities to make them more accessible and inclusive for the students. However, reflection showed them that they had not raised enough funds, and so they had to adapt and redirect their focus. So instead of concentrating on upgrading the washrooms, they decided to focus on painting of the building, creating educational materials, which had a more immediate and visible impact on the learning environment. This journey, which was named the Brave Brain Project, highlighted the value of periodically assessing whether impactful actions are taking place. And it can only happen if we encourage students to pause and reflect at each stage of their journey to make sure that they're actually helping, or their actions are actually impacting the community that they're targeting.
Thank you, Barbara. It's great to see students owning their learning journey. Now let's look at the connection between the mind and action. In the upcoming slides, you will hear students connecting their actions to specific understandings and knowledge gained from the mind stage. As we watch the videos, let's pay a close attention to the graphic organizers used and the way they were able to spot patterns to drive their actions. Ready?
Hello, my name is Karen, and I will be talking about my PYP experience at the journey. So I chose friendship because in general, being with my friends, it just makes me really happy. And there have been multiple scenarios where I felt like I was all alone, but I had my friends there, which I am super grateful for. Once we started investigating, we investigated how to maintain and develop a friendship. And I understood that communication is key to develop or maintain a friendship, because without it, it is almost impossible to maintain or develop a friendship. This inspired us to create the buddy benches, as we wanted everyone in the school to have a place where they could just sit down with their friends, whether to talk about just normal things or things that make them happy, or to resolve an issue they are having. In the end, my exhibition experience was truly something I wish I could go back to every day, but I'm super glad it happened. And now we have multiple buddy benches around the entire school where students sit down for lunch or to resolve their issues.
Hi, my name is Dale, and I was part of the child poverty team for exhibition. I chose this topic because I really care about the kids on the streets and what they go through on a daily basis. This led me to my inquiry on causes and effects of child poverty. Some of the effects that really stood out to me were brain damage, financial issues, etc. And these effects led me to making a podcast on child poverty to spread awareness and put the word out there that there are people out there in need of our help. So, in doing that, I was able to get enough people to view my podcast, and I'm hoping that makes a change and people actually help more than they are now.
Hi, my name's Aris, and the issue I've been researching about is stress.
So because I picked this topic because a lot of people in the world now have been caused with stress, maybe because too much workload, too many exams, or maybe even stuff happening at home. So while I was researching, we were trying to see what could relieve our stress. And one of the things were engaging in activities, maybe gardening, sports, or even walking with friends. So we decided to have a painting rock section in the art room. So we put up flyers so everyone who wanted to come and paint rocks to relieve their stress. And after when our parents came to try to check the exhibition, we also allowed them, and we saw their facial expressions and everything that made them relieve their stress. We could really see that their stress has relieved. Thank you. Hi, my name is Tia, and as we are now in MYP1, we're planning to sell the rocks at an event and get the money and to buy massage vouchers for lucky parents and teachers. Hello, my name is Noor, and I'm here to share with you my experience in exhibition. So, first of all, my issue in exhibition was climate change, and I chose that because to me it was a very serious problem, and it might even end the world. During my exhibition, my investigation of causes and effects of climate change, I understood that the main cause of climate change is certain human activities, and those certain activities could lead, in fact, doesn't mean it could lead to a change in weather patterns, a rise in temperatures, which many of you know as global warming, frequent extreme disasters such as floods, excessive rain, droughts, etc., etc., and heat-related sicknesses such as fevers and heat strokes. So this inspired me to raise awareness about climate change, and I targeted a young audience and by making a book for 7-year-olds called The Earth's Enemy. In that book, all the pages were different and they all were supposed to be colorful and unique to engage the young readers to want to read more about it. And so I'm planning to make 8 more books that are featured, and it will be like a series. So I thank you.
So as you have noticed, each student's journey reflects the dynamic interplay between the heart, mind, and action. We want our students to take meaningful actions resulting from strong and deep conceptual understandings. Let's zoom into this investigation described in one of the videos to better understand how the mind can inspire the action. Students asked one another a single factual question in here, or two. How did you grow your friendship? And what challenges do you face in your friendship? They were able to spot a pattern from their factual examples. So the concepts of communication, authenticity, and supportiveness popped up, leading them to deriving their own conceptual understandings, which inspired the development of the body benches. Here is another example we're going to explore from a different group that investigated the effects of child poverty on children. In here, the students looked at 4 different sources to gather factual examples. They color-coded these factual examples to generate important concepts in the middle, as you can see. And these concepts were used to come up with their own conceptual understandings. So from there, they noticed that factual examples they collected fall under the following concepts: mental well-being, brain damage, financial issues, lack of education, poor physical and well-being, which inspired them to create a podcast to raise awareness about the impact of poverty on children. So in here, we're basically looking at impactful actions resulting from deep learning and conceptual understandings, not just random actions. Now, let's shift our focus to how a previous action taken by students can inspire them to dig deeper into their chosen issues. ultimately enhancing their future actions. So we'll watch the last PYP, the last video of a PYP student discussing how having a dog inspired her to choose animal care as a topic. She'll share how this experience encouraged her to dig deeper and become a better pet owner.
Hi, I'm Asma. I choose animal care because I have a dog that I take care of every day. I always felt the need to improve my knowledge on how to take care of her better. During the inquiry process, we looked into the benefits of animals in society. We used a cross-comparison chart to illustrate data we gathered from videos, online texts, and surveys at home. This helped me understand that animals benefit the society by keeping us mentally and physically safe and healthy. We also inquired into ways to take care of animals using the Miso quadrant to synthesize information. This made me aware of how to take meaningful decisions and actions with my dog. I now take her for walks as I learned that is important for her health. I know when she's sick and I know when she's happy. My parents are proud of the way that I now take care of my dog. Thank you.
It's great to see how an action can lead students to dive deeper into their chosen issues, leading to more and more impactful actions. Off to you, Barbara. Barbara, you're muted. Can you think of a time when the investigation inspired students to take a different action than they initially wanted to? Let's type our responses in the chat box. It happens all the time.
Yeah. Any examples?
Any examples to share? My students proposed the CAS project and DP to help public school execution. Okay, they developed their understanding through investigation. Thank you for sharing. It's always great to see students leading their own learning journey. Moving from advocacy to lifestyle choices.
Okay.
One should first practice before preaching. Turning vegan to prevent animal abuse. Yep. Okay. We can move on, Barbara.
Sure. Please keep your thoughts coming in so that we can all see how actions keep changing depending on students' understanding. So we wanted to share a little bit of how connecting heart, mind, and action has really impacted our school so that we can all see the potential change that can happen if we as educators are intentional about making sure that students connect the heart, mind, and action. So one thing we've observed is that it actually builds a culture of care. Here is a case in point. In February last year, an earthquake hit Turkey and Syria. And some students, moved by empathy and responsibility, decided to take action by partnering with an NGO called West African Humanitarian Aid. And during the months of February all the way to June last year, they worked to identify the critical needs in Turkey and Syria. They designed posters, they spread the word, and their efforts paid off. They raised some funds and collected a variety of much-needed supplies. And with the support of the Aris community, they managed to send 9 generators, 12 boxes of clothing, and other essential items. One thing that I particularly found inspiring was that in addition to the material donations, they sent powerful messages of solidarity and hope by handwriting motivational notes for the survivors. So this initiative proves that service isn't always meticulously planned. Sometimes it's born out of sudden, authentic response to human suffering. And this is something that really inspires us here at Aris. Ruba?
We were so happy. Yeah, we were so happy to see students owning their learning in this PYP exhibition. Increased level of students' agency in the PYP exhibition process. They asked meaningful questions which turned into their lines of inquiry. Carefully picked graphic organizers that will help them sort their findings with the guidance of the mentors, of course, and plan the way forward regarding the sources they will use and the skills that will come to life throughout this journey. The clarity was simply amazing.
Yes,
here, as you can see.
So true. Yeah. And we see that students are having meaningful engagements. And one example is the Etitodes initiative. So students were focused on reducing plastic waste by using reusable shopping bags. Now, to demonstrate this, they went beyond theory by physically sewing and painting the handbags themselves. In addition to that, they engage in advocacy for their cause by taking these handmade tote bags to popular shopping malls where they engage with shop owners and customers, sharing not only the bags, but also their message of sustainability. So in essence, this project exhibits or exemplifies how when students are empowered, when they feel empowerment, service becomes more than just a school requirement, but it really transforms the students to have that platform to voice their concerns, to develop creative solutions and engage meaningfully with their community. As a result of connecting the heart, mind, and action as well, in our PYP exhibitions this year, students were able to expand and explore meaningful topics. They looked at topics that directly related to their lives and the challenges that they face in their local community. They aligned their personal interests with global issues and SDGs, and that led to impactful actions and made a real difference. So for example, students who were inspired by friendship created buddy benches to provide supportive environments for students to build connections and resolve conflicts. You'll see them around our school when you visit. Some students were interested in stress management, so they organized stress relief sessions, they painted rocks, they practiced mindfulness techniques. Other students were interested in climate change, so they wanted to promote sustainable consumption habits by developing educational resources like books. They created a website, they created a podcast to spread awareness. In another impactful project, students were concerned with child poverty. So they took steps to address this issue by organizing donation drives and distributing essential items to local communities. So we observed that each of these projects not only empowered our students to take meaningful action, but it helped us to see that once they cared, once they had that empathy, and combined with their critical thinking and their efforts, they were able to transform their passions into purposeful projects. And they became agents of change, not just within our school, but beyond. And this is exactly what we want to see when we engage heart, mind, and action. We've also seen a culture of empathy. So in this example, students partnered with an NGO library called Learn to Read Foundation. And that foundation provides a space for individuals to improve their reading skills during their free time. So what our students did was they spent a whole day with their young readers, and they engaged in interactive storytelling, read aloud sessions, educational games that made learning more fun and effective. This project highlights the real essence of service learning, students connecting deeply with their local environment. And because they care about what they're doing, they're able to help others, especially from the community, to develop a love for reading. The last and perhaps the most significant milestone in our journey of service has been our strategic partnership with Inspire Citizens. And our goal has been redefining how we approach service. So we don't just want service to be something we do once a while. We want service to be a lifestyle, an integral part of our culture. So what we've done is that we've partnered with Inspire Citizens. We've worked on building a service learning team. You can see them in the picture. And this team spans from PYP all the way to DP, so that everything we do, service is not a one-time activity. Everything we do, we want to be moved by service. So we had a couple of brainstorming sessions to develop the team, lay the groundwork for the approach that we're going to use to align service learning objectives across all the stages of the school. And we are inspired by this team and by our brainstorming sessions, so that we are looking forward to a future where every student and teacher, regardless of age, can contribute and become responsible, empathetic global citizens. So shout out to our service team members. You can see them in the picture. And thank you for listening.
So as we come to an end of this session, let's take a moment to reflect on 3 important takeaways. The first one is, let's always encourage our students to connect the heart and the mind. Integrate those facts with empathy. It's worth it. Light bulb number 2 is acting with intention. Let the action stem from solid conceptual foundations, not just simply, we like to draw, so we organized an art fair. We like to this, so let it be connected to a solid conceptual foundation in here. Let the mind speak loud. And the third light bulb is empower lifelong service, as Barbara said, integrated daily, not just as a project. It's messy, but it's definitely worth it. Thank you for being active listeners. Thank you for being part of this masterclass, something we're really passionate about.
And thanks for all the comments in the chat. I just wanted to share a couple of comments as people are typing in their questions now. But I love the comment from Valentina. My students fought their way into PYP exhibition because they wanted to share their learning so much, and they were grade 2 students. So I love that grade 2 students felt like they didn't want to wait all the way till grade 5 to be able to join in an exhibition project and have a PYPX, that it was something that they wanted to do in grade 2. And also Alpana, who is a teacher at the same school as Ruba and Barbara, she's saying, I'm thrilled with how we at Al Rayyan International School have embraced a concept-based curriculum and instruction framework, seamlessly integrating it to everything we do. And that couldn't be further from the truth. From all the photos and the videos that I've seen over the years, it's not just about teaching concepts. It's about inspiring, empowering, and transforming both our students and our learning community, creating a foundation for deeper understanding and meaningful connection across all areas of learning. And I think that's so true with what's happening at Al Rayyan. It's such an inspiring school. In fact, I would have to say I don't think I've ever seen one like it. The way that they come together as a community, it is truly seen as a school community. Your education for parents, you have, I think, a parent university. So you're also... so you're making sure that your parents are very much understanding the philosophy and the beliefs. And you talked in your presentation about building a culture of caring and empathy, and I think that is so apparent in everything that you do, in the way that students feel empowered to take action and to make a difference. And my last comment before we go to questions, that I hope people noticed as we went through, so often when we see PYP exhibition, we see students and teachers starting with writing central ideas. But as you can see from today's presentation, you can't start with a central idea. A central idea is what we come to understand. And so what Ruba and Barbara have so beautifully exhibited today is they need time to address the heart and mind and actually explore and understand and investigate the problem or situation so that they can explore those patterns and make connections. The writing of a central idea or the writing of a big idea or a generalization doesn't happen until students have had a chance to really delve into that mind and understand the problem or situation before they can decide on meaningful action. So you've so beautifully demonstrated something that I'm constantly trying to advocate for, is don't write central ideas at the beginning of a unit. Don't have students write statements of inquiry if you're doing the MYP personal project. You can't say what you understand before you've had a chance to engage the heart and the mind. So thank you. We'll jump into questions now. Let's scroll down to, we've got a lot of thank you. Really motivating in the MYP. So students feel that services, students to see and feel the services action, and to really keep the mind and heart not just as a requirement, but as a lifelong passion. So I think that's a question there. How do we really motivate the MYP students to feel service as action? Any ideas on that? Barbara, what do you think? You're working with MYP?
Yeah, so
motivate students.
You really have to start with things that they care about. And I can tell you, sometimes it's like pulling teeth. Many students, they don't have, they have passions, but they're not aware of them. So I think the real work needs to be done is guiding students to figure out what they care about. Once you know what they care about, then you begin to ask questions to motivate them. What do you think you can do as a student about this? Who do you need to speak to? Why do you need to, or who do you need to talk to? What research do you think you need to do? What experiment do you think will help you to understand this problem more deeply? It's all about the questions. And so, like Rachel said, you do need some time, and you need to put in a little bit of effort in the beginning. And students can only be motivated by things that they actually care about or have come to care about, which is why it's very important to provide opportunities for students to care about during their academic units of inquiry. If that is not intentional, you end up at exhibitions or at service learning or MYP projects, and students are like, I don't know, I don't care about anything. I'm not motivated by anything. But if they've been given opportunities to connect to the real world as they study, it'll be very easy to draw on examples of what they've done. So you meet a student, PYP6, they don't have any motivation. You can remind them, hey, what about that unit that we did on climate change? Or what about that unit that we did? Did you enjoy that unit? What did you love about it? What didn't you love about it? And then gradually you can sort of throw down the breadcrumbs, and then they follow it, and then they get excited and they're passionate, they want to learn. Because in our school, when it comes to PYP exhibitions, even though we're in the secondary section, we feel the energy from the PYP students. They go all around the school, they're investigating, they're asking questions, they're putting up posters, and it's great to see that come to life. But that doesn't happen in 1 year or 1 day. It needs to start from all the way from early years, students getting opportunities to care, and then us teachers putting in the effort to zoom in on what they're passionate about. I think that's what you can do to motivate students. Yeah.
Exactly. To add on to this, it's also exposing them to multiple issues happening around them, especially the little ones. They really need this guidance to really figure out what they really deeply care about and how they can take and move this forward in their investigation. So it's always like trying to connect them to the SDGs, connecting them to issues-based. Case studies can be really a good start. So it's always thinking of this connection between the heart, mind, and action.
All right, so I have one more question for you. Many schools have a service learning coordinator, but it would appear that Al Rayyan don't have a service learning coordinator, you have a service learning team, which is incredible. Tell us a little bit more about how that came about, from it being the responsibility of one person to be checking on it to a whole group of you who are passionate about service learning.
So we're a bunch of group of passionate facilitators at Al Rayyan International School who believe that service learning is the role of every teacher. It's not a it's not a role of a single person. So we decided to look at our curriculum and see how best we can really integrate service learning into our POI in the PYP and our curriculum in the MYP. We had this amazing collaboration with Inspire Citizens, looking at all our units of inquiry, to see how best we can integrate service learning, because at the end of the day, we really want students to take meaningful action. We don't want the action to look like as if it's like artificial. So we're trying to locate these opportunities in our curriculum where students can, in which units of inquiry can students take meaningful actions. And so we're doing this collaboration with them to really connect the dots as a team.
As a team, how many times do we hear that as a team? I think that's incredible. And in the chat, we've also had a comment, collaboration is key at ARIS. And so I think that is very, very true, that it's not just in terms of service learning, but collaboration is key to all that you do. It's built into, we're talking about building a culture of caring and empathy, but that's also very apparent in your teaching teams, and it's apparent that collaboration is built in your culture, very much so.
Exactly. It's very important for the collaboration to happen, for students to transition smoothly from one year level to the other, so that they don't feel the gaps, they don't feel the differences. So at the end of the day, we're all working in one environment, in one school, we're speaking the same language. And we're like,
yes, absolutely. I think that's
learning, changing, unlearning.
Yes. And also stepping up to invitations to present these masterclasses. So thank you so much to both Ruba and Barbara, who, when I reached out to them and said, hey, would you be willing to do a presentation? They both went, sure, of course. Yes. So thank you both for putting this together. I know that hours and hours that go into preparing a masterclass, but we appreciate you sharing all the amazing things that you are doing with the world. We've had over 160 educators joining us today, and we'll be sending out I didn't want to tell you that at the beginning, but you've had 160 people in the audience today, and we'll be sending out the replay. So if there's anyone else, excuse me, if there's anyone else at your school who needs to hear the messages that we've shared in today's masterclass, then please do forward the replay to them. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you again next time.